Not so much, not simply because of the intervention that you've designed, but because of that little 2-hour, journey to Travis Park and the information that was presented by the panel that we had. Has that contributed to a change in your original stereotype? Okay. And then it becomes circular. Does the change in your stereotype contribute to how you feel about your intervention strategy? Okay. So, who wants to be on the first panel? Erica raised her hand. I saw her hand go up. I saw that. You're on the first panel. You want to? Okay, you bring the baby and that'll be our first panel.
I would say my first impression was that most of them went to shelters at the end of the night. And I think there's no way that all of them can go to shelters every single night because they all have different setups with, you can only stay here, what was it, like once a month or something, or you can only get new clothing once a month. So they try to systemize it, I guess. But you're going to get left out in the cold or in the heat a lot of the time.
Okay, so what kind of intervention, what group or subgroup did you pick, and what kind of intervention, what was your goal, and how did you set about to solve that goal or accomplish it?
I kind of took the model of Haven for Hope, and I was saying if money wasn't an option and if we could have as much money as possible, I would want to build like 20 Haven for Hopes in each city. I really like to where there was buses going through the city and combing through the city and picking up homeless people and saying, okay, we're going to take you here. There's food, there's shelter, there's going to be school for all the kids, and training programs like trade schools so that we can get the adults into some kind of field where they have, what is that word? Like longevity and stability in the workplace. And that's what I would want to do. And it would be for everybody, medical and psychiatric health. And then it would be self-running in a way. So all the people that they were helping were running the facility. Everybody had a job. Everybody had a duty. And then let's say after 8 or 9 months that they were there and had training and saved up money from working at the Haven for Hopes, they could move to halfway housing, like an apartment, and kind of get started there slowly until they could move out of the halfway housing. That's what I would want to do.
Has your stereotype changed?
No. I kind of felt the same way. I would definitely say, though, growing up, I heard differently. That they made they made decisions and that's why they're there, or, that they took the easy way out. You hear all sorts of things when you're a kid, but definitely once I got older, I was like, well, I've made bad decisions too, and I don't want somebody to write me off just because I made a bad decision. So I think everybody just learns on their own,
I think one of the things that is becoming more and more apparent is that we have to consider that a lot of people who are in our category called homeless person isn't there because they made a bad decision today, but they're there because of simply economic circumstances.
Mm-hmm. That too. Yeah. And maybe not a bad decision, but just decisions in general. They could have gone to this job instead of this one and wouldn't have gotten laid off. Or, not even economic. Maybe they had some kind of disease or circumstance health-wise and they couldn't afford it, so they lost a lot of their money that way.
My stereotype in the beginning was, I knew I wanted to be sympathetic, and I was about homeless people, but there's always that thought in the back of your head, well, if you give them money, how do you know they're not going to go use it for drinks or whatever? So even though, I tried not to believe that, it was always still in the back of my head. But my intervention strategy would be a really, really slow process. But my first step would be to raise money to go to churches and stuff to get money, because you can't really do much without it, and it's going to be hard to get that kind of money from the government and stuff. So whether going to churches and asking churches for donations and stuff, because I think our society needs to be more educated on homelessness, because I don't really hear much about homelessness. what I wanted to do is, like, I see commercials of, like, children commercials, how they want you to adopt children and stuff, and I think stuff like that needs to be promoted on, like, here in the U.S. or San Antonio, like, on how our homeless population is, like, living and how they have to live. And so I'd want to get, like, money by donations to get advertisements and flyers and stuff out there to get, like, the public aware of, like, the issue. And then from then, hopefully being able to raise enough money to get, like, more transitional housing, like, places, because we have, like, a lot of shelters here in San Antonio, but it doesn't really give them a permanent address to, like, get identification and stuff, because most of them don't have that. So if we could get more transitional housing rather than shelters, then I think that'd be a good strategy. And maybe having the homeless, in order to get jobs, like, maybe they could end up working for the transitional housing places and keep it like a cycle, and then they get out, and then more homeless people come in, they work for transitional housing, and, like, just like a big old cycle. And then, like, working with them to get, like, bus vouchers and stuff for people to hand out on the streets instead of giving them actual money. We can give them, like, vouchers for food and vouchers for the bus and stuff, and teach them, like, how to use public transportation and stuff like that. But it would be a really slow process I would have to develop into something like that. So that would be an intervention strategy. And then the way my stereotypes are now, like, it doesn't even cross my mind anymore. Like, I catch myself when I'm driving on the street or something and I see a homeless person, like, I don't even think, like, drugs and alcohol anymore. Like, I just, like, here's whatever I have, like, you know. And I think a lot of it had to do with, like, the panel that we had, because I got to hear, like, each aspect, the sociological and the religious point of it really, like, got to me. And, like, I felt like a really big judger in the beginning, like, now that I look back on it. But I think my stereotypes are still the same in the sense that I feel bad for them, but it's gotten a lot deeper for me now, where it's like I try not to judge as much anymore. So.
What I can recall my first paper, I've grown up, you know, in different, I guess, of my age and stuff. I've seen so much, and what I've seen of the homeless when I was younger, it hasn't changed. I think we have a lot more programs for them now than what we did before, but I think if people would just use the program, some don't want to, you know, and I've seen a lot of that. I've even talked to some that are asking for money, and you know, and they don't want to go to the shelters. They don't want. One of them told me that he wasn't in the zip code. He wasn't in the code. And I said, well, I didn't know you had to have a certain zip code to be at the shelter, because it's not considered, you know, a permanent address. I said it's considered a shelter unless you go to a transitional home where you can use that as a zip code to find employment and to better yourself. And I think, you know, like when I was younger, I would see a lot of it, and we'd ask, and my dad would say, well, you know what, they don't have any money, that's why they ask for money, or that's why they need things. So the clothes that we had when we were little, you know, we'd give to the church, or we'd know of certain family, and we'd give them our clothing, and we'd hand down to each other, and then when we were done, we'd hand to someone else. So, no, get away from there. Come here. No. And as far as intervention, I would think that, you know, all these apartment housings that they have for the low income, I think they should have apartment housing for the homeless as well. Because the people that are low income, some are using it well, and some I know are abusing. Okay? And the abusers are the ones that should be penalized, and they should go ahead and give that to the homeless, because they don't have a chance to be, you know, anywhere but on the street. And I think that these homes are being taken for granted and taken advantage of by people that really don't need the assistance. You know, they just want a free load, you know, off of others. And the homeless are, you know, depicted by panhandling. Well, there's others that are low income and they're not depicted. you know, and they still get the assistance, and I don't think it's right. So I think we should have housing for homeless also, like we have for low income. And I think they should be able to get assistance with food stamps, you know, with medical aid, with whatever they have. You know, now they're having these, that we don't have insurances in the employment anymore. They're giving women a chance to get Medicaid under a certain, I guess, income bracket. And I think that should be handled and given to the women that are homeless also. You know, just because they don't have an income, it doesn't mean that they don't have, you know, an ailment, and they do need it. So I would think that, you know, like I said, building something for the homeless would be real good. And I would definitely want to be in some kind of, you know, charity or function to where we can give to others, you know, and make this happen. And as far as my stereotyping changing, it's made me more aware. I used to always do the handouts, like she said, you know, give and give and give and give. And I think I've been aware more of the people that hold the cardboard up, and they stress, you know, lost employment, you know, I need to feed my children, I need to feed my family, you know, and then you suggest, well, can I go buy you groceries? Can I go do something? Can I give you a gift card for groceries? They don't want that. They want cash, you know. So it upsets me to see that, but it also, I think if we're helping, like they always say, you're enabling the person to keep going and to be more homeless. And I think for us to hand out, it's wrong the way they see it now because we'll get fined. But I think, you know, if you see a person that really needs it, I think we should still. And if I get fined, oh well. You know, I'd have to take that into consideration and, you know, just hope for the best that I don't get caught. Because I'm going to do it regardless. I've done it since I was a little girl.